And we are live. This is the Canada Hoops Daily Podcast. My name is Sheldon Alexander. Thank you all for tuning in with us on this edition. Game 3 of the NBA Finals. We are breaking it all down as the Indiana Pacers are taking a 2-1 series lead. Yes, the Pacers, after a 116-107 victory. We are here to break it down. My name is Sheldon Alexander. Thank y'all for tuning in. This was a crazy game, a fun game, and a reminder for the people who, again, there's a lot of people talking about basketball, but not a lot of people that actually like basketball. So I always say choose wisely. This series, two good teams. If you listen to people talk about it beforehand, you would have thought that this would have been a trash series, a boring series, not fun, not a lot going on. And yet, here we are with the Indiana Pacers now leading 2-1. And yes, after game 2, an OKC blowout, lots of people, hey, series is over. Could be OKC in 5, could be a walk, all that fun stuff, right? And I get it, and I understand. That's why they play the games, right? OKC came out in this game as if, you know, it was an interesting one. The way that I will say the majority of this game was played, I felt like OKC was kind of pacing themselves, or Shea looked like he was pacing himself to then try to take over at the end of the game, and that just didn't happen. Like, that part of the plan didn't pan out. But overall, this game was won, to me, because of the Indiana Pacers bench. What a performance from Bennedict Mathurin, who finished this game with 27 points, on 9 of 12 shooting and 2 of 3 shooting from 3. But whenever they needed a bucket, when they were getting a boost from their bench, he was the one that was able to provide it. And just what a game. What a game. Halfway through, you know, you got to the fourth quarter and I'm watching this game and I'm thinking, okay, Indiana has to win this game because they can't waste the effort they got from Mathurin, the effort they got from TJ McConnell, who TJ McConnell is, I got a text from my guy Webster that was like, make sure you talk about TJ McConnell. And it's like, how can we not talk about TJ McConnell after watching that game? He flipped that game with his second quarter minutes, and just the energy that he brought, the way that he was able to play to the crowd, get the crowd all hyped up. He was making plays on both ends, whether he's pushing the pace, pushing the tempo on offense or on defense. Like, to see someone steal the inbounds pass twice in a game is crazy. And he did that. He just gave them the ultimate spark. And this game was a perfect example of the age-old adage they always talk about, how your bench players play better at home. You saw that from Indiana in this game. It was just that simple. You got great bench minutes from, as mentioned, Mathurin, McConnell. Obi Toppin had that massive dunk late in the fourth quarter. I thought that was really huge. Just a great game from the Indiana Pacers. And I can't lie, I was watching that game. I was watching that fourth quarter and just waiting for them to blow it or waiting for Shea to take over. And that just didn't happen. Because I feel like in the past, you watch a game like that, right? And a game like that, normally in the playoffs, you're playing against the MVP and the game's close. And it was like Indiana, when they took over and they took the lead, you know, they get up by a couple points, but then OKC would make a bucket. Indiana was playing really well, but OKC was right there. And normally in those games, those are the games that come back to haunt you because the other team's best player just takes over late. That part just didn't happen for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who I thought he played okay, but okay for the MVP. You know, there's levels now. And once you're Shai and once you've entered certain levels, there's no more okays allowed in the NBA Finals. For the MVP. That's just not allowed. These are the rules. I didn't make them up. It's just a history of basketball. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 24 points on 9 of 20 shooting. That's just, you know, you look at the difference between Shai in game 1, Shai in games 1 and 3, and then Shai in game 2. The difference is just the efficiency in which he shot the ball and the assist numbers, right? So if we go back to game 1, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he had 38 points, but he shot 46%, right? Which for Shai, that's I mean, for the average person, right? That's pretty good. For Shea, you know, he's up at the 50% mark. That's just a standard that he set for himself, right? So game 2, 34 points, but that percentage is back up to 52%. Now we go to game 3, 24 points on 45% shooting, right? So notice what I'm saying there, right? It's the efficiency that's down and also the assist numbers. He only had 3 assists in game 1, 4 assists in game 3. Game 2, the game the Thunder won, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander with 8 assists. So that's kind of the difference that you got to look at if you're Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and they're going to sit down and obviously they're going to make adjustments. They've been in this exact scenario before against the Denver Nuggets where they blew game 1 in horrible fashion. They blow out the team in game 2, and then they lose game 3 on the road. This is exactly what happened against Denver, right? So it's not like OKC is going to panic because they lost game 3 and now they're down in the series. That's not how this team is built. That's not what's going to happen here, right? They're going to go back. They're going to look at the tape, and it's easy to tell. If Shea shoots at a more efficient clip, if he's able to get more of his guys involved, that's really the difference for OKC in this series. And on the flip side, what a game from the Pacers. You know, the Pacers bench, I mentioned that. That was a difference. OKC's turnovers, just not a good look for them in this game at all, where they turned over the ball so much. I was tracking it at one point. I don't know what happened in the final minute, but I know when there was 1 minute left in the game, OKC had 19 turnovers that led to 21 points. That's, when you lose a game by single digits, and you give up 21 points off of turnovers, off your 19 turnovers, that's always going to be a tough one, right? So here we are, 2-1. And how many people would have thought that the Pacers would be the ones that are up 2-1 in the NBA Finals, right? Not the way that this series was talked about coming in, not the way that, we saw game 2 go, but here we are. And what I love to do on these pods, we talk every game, we break it down game by game, but the most important thing is to not lose sight of the entire series, right? Like, I try to give some perspective. So that's why I brought up the Denver series, because OKC's been here before. They're not going to panic down 2-1. And also, we had OKC in 6. So OKC in 6 means that Indy has to win 2 games. Well, guess what? Indy's won 2 games. This makes game 4 on Friday obviously super important for both teams, right? But if you're Indiana, you got to be going into that game. Like, how normally you might, not that you take your foot off the gas, but your sense of urgency might not be at the highest clip because you're up 2-1. I feel like if you're Indiana, you got to come out on Friday as if that is the NBA Finals. Because if you go up 3-1, as opposed to being equal in a split, going back to OKC and knowing that OKC is so good at home, and now you got to win 2 out of 3 with them having home court advantage, I don't know. That's a tough one. But if there is a trend that I'm seeing from Oklahoma City, it's that if they don't blow you out in a close game down the stretch, their execution is a little bit shaky in close games. So if you can hang tough with them, right? If you can take all the blows and win the turnover battle, which Indy did tonight, got a chance. I see the stat here that says OKC made 1 shot in the last 5:57. 1 shot. That's a tough one. That's a super tough one to come back from. And if you're Oklahoma City Thunder, I think you gotta figure something out there where, I understand why Shea's numbers are down. Like, the assist numbers were down. Like, he just wasn't handling the ball nearly as much as they were trying to save his energy, obviously, and not have him waste so much energy bringing the ball up the floor as he had in so many of the other games. But with the ball not in his hands, he's not setting up the offense as much, which I think is needed. The other thing I want to bring up right away is the minutes of Isaiah Hartenstein, who only played 18 minutes in this game. And listen, I get it. OKC has a ton of big guys, a ton of guys that they play, right? They have a ton of guys that they play. So I understand that. It's always going to be a juggling act trying to figure out which guys you're going to play, right? We saw Aaron Wiggins have a massive game out of nowhere. And then this game, he plays 10 minutes. That's kind of the way it goes. But I still think as long as Miles Turner and Pascal Siakam are out there on the floor, I do think playing your double big lineup when you're two bigs, it's close, but I would argue I probably would rather have OKC's duo of bigs than the Pacers duo of bigs, right? Like that's close. It's close. But I'm just saying, I'd rather have Hartenstein out there to bang bodies, to grab rebounds. I just think in the NBA Finals, in a game in which possessions matter so much, I'd rather have my big guys out there to get me an extra rebound here and there. And I feel like especially down the stretch in these close games where you can see the Thunder are tired, possessions are so valuable. And so I think I'd like to have my big guy out there to get me some extra rebounds. But hey, that's where the adjustments come, right? It's only game 3. It's only game 3. Series, you're about at the halfway mark of the series. Let's see here. So here's a stat from SN Stats account, which if you don't follow, you really should. It says Pacers Bennedict Mathurin sets record for most points off the bench by a Canadian in an NBA Finals game with 25. Previous mark was Kelly Olynyk, game 2 in 2020. Hey, shouts to Kelly Olynyk. That's a big game. He had 20 points. Damn. All right, Kelly. I see you. I wasn't familiar with your game in 2020, Kelly. Most points off the bench in an NBA Finals game. Mathurin is third with 27. Sorry, he finished with 27 points. So Mathurin behind Fred Brown of the Supersonics in 1978 and Sam Cassell. Shout out to Sam Cassell. I just realized that's a super old reference now for the kids, right? The kids have no idea about I'm gonna get bucks like Milwaukee because like Sam Cassell. No, Jadakiss. Is that too old for the kids now? It's got to be, right? Anyways, Sam Cassell, 1995, 31 points off the bench. So Bennedict Mathurin, third. That's crazy. Third most points off the bench in an NBA Finals game in NBA history. That's pretty crazy. Canadians just doing work. It's a beautiful thing to see. Let's go through this game a bit, though, and talk about, dig a little deeper into what actually happened. Because that's what I like to do here. I like to, you can play the result. Hey, Pacers won. Halliburton, I thought, had a really good game. A really, really good game, in terms of he put his footprint on the game throughout. He didn't wait till the fourth quarter. He started on time. I thought that was huge for the Pacers. 22, 11, and 9 from Halliburton. Obviously, that's a great game. Great bounce back game from him. Let's go through this though, because my thing is, as I was saying, you can talk about the end result, obviously, and what happened, but I try to still add some context or like break down at least what was going on during the game, right? So that see what traces or what tracks, from game to game. So let's start here. The game started off pretty interesting because I thought both Chet and Pascal Siakam were both super aggressive. Like both of them were just going at it early. And, I really thought Siakam did a good job of getting off to a good start for his team. Because I thought, we said it last pod, I thought if the Pacers are going to win, I thought Pascal Siakam I thought he needed to be closer to 30, right? But with the performance you got from Mathurin, obviously, you take the night that you got from Pascal Siakam, 21 points, 8 of 14 shooting, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and a block. You take that if you're Indiana. The overall point that I was making, though, was that Pascal Siakam just has to be aggressive. He has to be a threat consistently for this team. And the fact that he came out to do it early, I thought that was really big. And, he started off 3 of 4, 7 points super early, and he was just getting to it, getting to the mid-range, getting in the paint, hitting the mid-range shots over smaller defenders. Because even when they got Chet on him, like he should be able to win that matchup. And it's interesting to see, you know, as Raptors fans, people who watch the Raptors, super familiar with what Pascal Siakam's capabilities are, right? And so you see him aggressive early, you see him getting into the paint, getting some easy buckets, easing his way into the game, and then everything else becomes so much more simple, or at least that's the way it appears. And it's a beautiful thing to see, right? So Siakam off to a good start. Chet off to a good start. He had 8 points early, 3 for 3 start from him. And he was doing it on both ends of the floor, playing solid defense as well. And super early on, Halliburton, you could tell he's trying to feel his way into the game, which normally is thing, right? He's not forcing anything, but he's trying to get everyone involved still. Pacers, 4 turnovers super early in this game, but it was all right. It was all right at that point. They're keeping it close. Lou Dort, I thought, had a great start for OKC, which it's good to have your role players step up for you on the road. Good to have your role players step up for you on the road, because your role players, normally it's tough. It's tougher for them on the road, right? But Lou Dort, back-to-back threes early on, 7 turnovers for the Pacers in the first quarter. But at that point, Chet Holmgren leading the way. He had 13 points on 4 or 5 shooting. After one, OKC was up 32-24. Lou Dort, perfect 3 for 3 from 3. Second quarter, both teams go to their benches, right? You have both stars, Halliburton and Shea, both on the bench. And Indy won those minutes. And it was all because, to me, this was a game. This is where the game flipped. TJ McConnell and Mathurin come in, and Mathurin was just putting in work. He had 7 points in his three minutes. First 3 minutes on the court, 7 points from Mathurin. TJ McConnell was making crazy plays. He was getting assists because he's getting paint touches, drawing defenders. And the fact that TJ McConnell, because Halliburton, right? Most of the time when you see Halliburton drive, he's driving to pass. And OKC kind of knows that. McConnell, I think, has done a pretty good job of getting in the lane, and normally he's doing the same thing, but I feel like there's been points where he's been more aggressive as well, and he's hitting that floater. He's taking that floater, right? And in this game, in that second quarter, I thought he did a really good job in getting the bench guys going and just getting the crowd into the game. That sequence when he had the assist and then stole the inbounds play, and then the crowd's getting all hyped up. His first 5 minutes in the game, he had 2 points, 4 assists, 3 steals. When you're doing all of that, right? When you're doing all of that, you're in the game. You've made your imprint into the game. And I thought, at that point, TJ McConnell was getting the crowd fired up. The Indy crowd obviously loves TJ McConnell. They kept showing his dad. His dad was fired up. Pacers went on an 11-2 run after another bucket from Mathurin. And at that point, it was 19-0 was the lead for the Indy bench halfway through the game. 19-0. What are the things that we talked about being the strengths for the Oklahoma City Thunder? It was their depth. So for you to be getting outscored 19-0 to start the game, that's a tough one. That's a tough look. But that is a tough environment as well to go into. And that's why, the playoffs are a different ball game. The playoffs, you expect your bench to play better at home. They're more comfortable. The lights aren't as bright at home. You're sleeping in your own bed. Things are feeling good. You got your same routine. All that fun stuff. On the road, oof, everyone's talking trash to you. Everyone's booing you. The crowd is just going crazy. And maybe that was a little too much for the Indiana Pacers. I don't know, or for the OKC Thunder bench, because they struggled. Isaiah Joe tried to give them some life. He came off the bench. He finally hit some threes, putting some points on the board for the Thunder bench. But Mathurin just continued to get busy. Pacers were playing their style of play, getting out and running, extended their largest lead at that point was 47-42, pardon me. Mathurin at 14 points off the bench at that point. And Indy was playing so well, but they were only up 4 points. It was very weird. It was a very strange game because watching the game, it felt like Indy should be blowing them out. But then you look at the score and OKC was right there. And it was so crazy. Sorry, I'm scrolling online and I normally try not to get distracted. But I got to say something here. As I'm scrolling online, I get distracted by this post by the Indiana Pacers showing Terry Crews, and he walks by and daps up Reggie Miller. I'm trying to figure out how I can say this. Indiana's got a really corny team and corny fans. Like, I don't know how else I can possibly say this, but like, I didn't know Terry Crews was a Pacers fan. I don't know what the link is there. I don't know what's going on. No idea. But Terry Crews, I'll say, fits the description of Reggie Miller, Tyrese Halliburton. Yeah. I guess I'll just say, if you know, you know. I'll just say that much. That distracted me so hard because I was just like, these guys, like, there's not a cornier crew. Now, they're great basketball players. They're a great team. They're fun to watch. Anyways, I'll keep going. Halliburton, as I mentioned, off to a much better start in this game. Got the floater game to go, hitting threes, by far his best first half of the series. He had 12 points and 7 assists on 5 of 8 shooting. The first two first halves, okay? So in game 1 and game 2, you add up the first half of both of those games, he had 9 points total. He had 12 points in the first half of game 3. So already just doing the job there. And that effort, that's hype. That's hype. If you're the rest of the team, you follow that dude. I see some comments in the chat. What's up? What's up? What's up? How's it going? Says, what a win for the Pacers. A big time win for the Pacers. My dream was Pacers versus OKC in the finals. Whoever wins, I feel happy for that team. You know what? I appreciate that comment, because that comment, you're just a real basketball fan. You like good basketball. Next comment. But tonight, go Pacers. So happy for Pascal. Yes, of course. Raptors fans definitely going to be happy for Pascal. Very good to see for sure. As mentioned, 64-60 was the Indy lead at the half. McConnell was leading the way for their bench, who had 30 of the 64 points. So the 64 points scored in the first half, Indy's bench had 30 of them. They also were outscoring OKC's bench 30-11 at the half. That right there is a game. To me, that's a game. Add in the turnovers for OKC. But start the third quarter. This is where things got a little spooky, because Jalen Williams comes out, 2 big-time plays to tie up the game, just straight bully balling. Then Shea hits the midi, 6-0 run in less than 90 seconds. OKC back in the lead. Out of a timeout, Miles Turner misses. Jalen Williams, another big body bucket, 8-0 run OKC to start the half. And at that point, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe OKC's just, just calm and cool. They're going to just handle this. But the sneaky turnovers, that kept getting in their way. Halliburton made a great steal, goes full court for the lay-in, or for the dunk, pardon me. Shea tried to come back with the 3, but I thought Shea, clearly you could tell Shea was trying to pace himself in this game. They weren't having him bring up the ball himself, but I felt like he would get the ball, and it was a lot. I think it was Tim Legler that did such a good job breaking this down after game 1, just about, Shea getting the other guys involved, right? And the shots that he was taking. And it's like, if he's not playing point guard and like handling the ball, and he's in control of getting everyone else involved as well, when he gets the ball, it's just straight line shot. That's it. Nobody else is involved. And the way that the strength of OKC is everyone being involved, right? Does that make sense? That's where the efficiency comes in, right? And that's where Shea's assist numbers go up. It's just interesting to watch, something to pay attention to as the series continues, right? It was weird too, because I looked up and Shea had 21 points. OKC was up 2, and I didn't know when Shea scored the 21 points. Like, I saw him getting buckets, but I didn't realize he was at 21. I thought Jalen Williams also had a great game. And this game was following the script of so many playoff games that we've seen before, where the road team, the better team, their best players are just going to figure out a way how to win this game. And then that's when you get the reminder, like, oh yeah, this is like Shea and Jalen Williams, like, first go at this. like first go in the NBA finals. And what I mean by that is the intensity is just different. The defense is just different. All of this is just so different. And so now the pressure is just different. The crowd's a little louder. The calls you get in the regular season, you're not getting in the playoffs and the NBA finals. Like there's just so much that's different to this point, right? So Jalen Williams, I thought in that third quarter, he was just doing his thing and he played really, really well. Closed out that third quarter with a crazy crossover, hits the step back three. OKC was up 89-84. And I think I tweeted out, I don't understand. Like, I didn't think Indiana could play better and they were losing. It was so weird. And as you continue to watch the game, right, it wasn't that Indiana played that much better. It's that OKC started to play that much worse, it appeared to me. They talked about it on the broadcast. You could see Shea keeled over, and he's got his hands on his knees trying to catch his breath. Caruso got fouled hard, and he's just laying on the ground trying to, like, kill some time and grab his breath. And we talked about this after game one. The level of defense that these guys play, it's tough to do that in a full-length NBA game, right? So then I go back to the distribution of the minutes because it's very tough to do that. That means you need your guys off the bench to play a little more, and if Caruso, okay, he gets his 32 minutes, but then after that, you got Hartenstein with 18, Wiggins with 10. You might need a little bit more to give Shea a little bit of a breather at some point, let Jalen Williams get a little bit more of a breather. Chet played 35 minutes, I thought Chet played all right. But there were some moments where he looked like he was getting bodied by Miles Turner. And I think it's going to, and this isn't a matter of, oh, well, they won this game, or sorry, they lost this game and they won the last game. So that means, no, like when you just look at the minutes, Hartenstein's minutes, he got more minutes in the last game, right? And the big on big minutes, it looked better. I feel like you're giving the advantage to Indiana by playing smaller. But I just, and the reason I just feel like you can play a certain way in the regular season, but in the playoffs, it's the little one or two plays that swing a run, that change a quarter, that end up becoming the theme of the game. And so even though, hey, you look at the box score and it says, okay, well, 42 rebounds for the OKC Thunder, 36 rebounds for the Pacers. Right? So they out-rebounded the Pacers. Cool. I get that. But I would say, here's the thing that I would want to know, though. I'm talking about crunch time. That play where Obi Toppin comes out of nowhere, goes through like 3 OKC guys, and gets that and one dunk. What if Hartenstein's in there boxing out? Right? Like those are just the little things that are just momentum swings that end up becoming such a big deal because the game is right there for OKC. Did they run out of gas? I don't know. I thought, at a certain point, as you switch it over to the Indy side of things, the way that the game was playing out, you're just like, these guys are playing so good, but the game is still so close. Like they have to win this game. Like Indy could not blow this game or else they would just be super depressed. And I would actually wonder, could they bounce back if they weren't able to come out of this game with the victory? Because you're getting great games from McConnell and Mathurin. Their bench was doing the job, but yet they were down going into the fourth quarter. And guess what? Mathurin decides he's going to get more points. He's just continued to go off. McConnell with another steal off the rebound. I mean, McConnell just had an amazing game, and that tied it up at 95 after Nembhard gets the bucket. McConnell steals it off the inbound, puts it back up, tied at 95. Mathurin hits a massive three. That gave Indy the lead. Halliburton hit a deep three. Then Nembhard with the tough two. Like at that point, they just started to get it going. And I read the stat earlier about the drought that the OKC Thunder went on in that fourth quarter late. And to me, when that happens, there's two things. There's one where you're wondering, are they going to call timeout because their guys look tired, or are they just tired? I don't know. But to start that fourth quarter, Indiana went on a 23-11 run, and that was pretty much the ball game there. They just continued to dominate the fourth quarter. They're getting great stops. SGA didn't really have it, and I mentioned the turnover stats. 21 points off of the 19 OKC turnovers. That stat was up until the 1 minute mark. I should probably be able to check that somewhere, but bottom line is you get the point, right? Let's see. 21 points off of the 19 turnovers for OKC. Yeah, that's what it was. I think, you look at that game, and a game like that just becomes so close because it was a good game down the stretch. And up until the fourth quarter, you didn't really know which way it was going to go. And the Pacers are just able to hang on. OKC, I guess I go back to that Brian Windhorst thing he was talking about after game one, where he was mentioning how, the Pacers believe that if they can just keep the games close, they can win in crunch time. If you're able to keep it close, they feel like they could just win in crunch time. And through 3 games, that's kind of played out that way. Games have been close in crunch time. The Pacers have executed better than OKC down the stretch. That's how it's gone so far. I mean, the one game OKC won, they blew them out, ran them out of the gym, and I don't know. It makes me, does it change my overall viewpoint of the entire series? No, because I still thought it was going to be OKC in 6. And, right now that just means I would see OKC winning the next game. Yeah, could definitely see them doing that, going home and taking care of business, and then closing it out in a tough game 6. But I will say, the one thing that I'm happy about that's going on here, and the one benefit of having Indiana win this game, is that the narrative will bring more of the casuals into this series. That's just great basketball. Because I've been having trouble like consuming content, and then consuming content as someone who also tries to make content. I've been struggling with that. I'll be honest. I'm going to tiptoe about how I say this too. But I find I just want to hear people talk about basketball, right? And I think what happens, and I know I'm about to say what I'm about to complain about. Sorry, I know I'm about to do what I'm complaining about, but I'm trying to make a point here. So follow me here. I feel like what happens is a lot of things get produced off of what they see other people say, as opposed to, hey, what do you think happened in the game? Do you know what I mean? And so a lot of what's been talked about in this series is like, oh, well, there's no real storylines. To me, that's a journalism problem and a lack of beat reporters still employed at enough places to tell us enough stories about all of these guys so that we'd be more, so that the average fan would be more invested in knowing who Jalen Williams is, or tell us a bit more about Chet Holmgren's upbringing or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's upbringing. But just this whole oh, I don't know how to get into this series. Like, well, how about you just tell me about the fact that we're watching a dude put up 30 points per game and shoot 50%, and how many people have done that? That's something that not KD does anymore. Do you know what I mean? We rarely see these things that are happening right now. And I feel like the mainstream people that should be setting the trends of, or setting the bar for what the content is, it's just a constant complaining about, oh, well, this doesn't have this good storyline. To me, this has been great basketball. We've been entertained so far through 3 games with a crazy comeback, right? Crazy performance in the first half of game 1 by OKC, a crazy comeback and a great shot by Tyrese Halliburton to end game 1. Game 2, you were just watching OKC, the reason why they were so dominant throughout the whole season, just their attacking nature on defense, just overwhelming and steamrolling Indy in game 2. And then in this game 3, this was just a back and forth game of watching 2 good teams go at it. And a crowd that was so into it and fired up. And now you have this series where, because I also think the problem is too many people follow the gambling stuff, like the gambling lines, but don't understand what the gambling lines actually mean. Right. So when the gambling lines are like, OKC is a heavy favorite, people don't also realize that part of that is they're trying to get some money on Indiana as well. Does that make sense? If you put the number high enough, if you put the number closer to even, well, everyone was going to bet on OKC. But if you jack that up, right? How high do you have to go? How many people did you see beforehand say, hey, Indy would be worth a little sprinkle here? And why were they saying that? Because the number got so high that the value became on Indiana in this series. Vegas, man, they're in the business of making money. But the way that people talk about these things, it meant that, oh, well, OKC is just going to blow them out in 5 straight games, and that's what's going to happen. Not quite. We have a great series. And to me, instead of trying to crown Tyrese Halliburton as being, an all-NBA player, let's just enjoy him for what he is. It's a really good point guard, and a classic point guard that, doesn't want to just shoot all the time, wants to get his teammates involved, wants to lead the fast break, wants to push the tempo, wants to make would rather make the assists and get the point himself. That's something to be applauded. Jalen Williams is so good on so many levels, right? And if you can't find things to talk about Jalen Williams, that's on you, right? Jalen Williams, watching him play, and first off, the defense is great. The way that they do their substitution patterns where Shea goes out and then he becomes a primary ball handler, he's so good. Like when he just gets it going and it's like, okay, now it's his turn, and he's just going to get downhill, get to his mid-range spots, get his buckets going. But even too, he had the one play where he drove the lane and he had the one-handed like lefty pass through the lane to Chet for the dunk. Like Jalen Williams is so good, right? Like this series has been great basketball so far. And I'm glad Indiana is able to come out and be at this point, because this will bring the casuals in. Like, oh, wait, Indiana's up 2-1? Wait, this is an actual series? It's like, yes, this is going to be a good series, and it's so good to watch. And I'm happy that we've gotten 3 good games so far, because even in the blowout, just watching OKC dominate and the way that they play defense, like, yes, defense wins too, right? So it's been super interesting so far. And we've gotten great performances from Shea, great performances from Hallie, and 2 great fan bases. Like, to me, that's the awesome part too. When you can hear the noise from the crowd through the TV and everyone's just going crazy and everyone's standing, like that is atmosphere. That is incredible. That's what you want to see from a fan base in the NBA finals. It's just dope. It's just been dope. Another comment here that says, let's talk about Canadian excellence, please. LOL. Yes. I mean, what a night, to have a game where, again, Lou Dort, we're going to get to Lou Dort, who had 12 points, 4 of 5 shooting from 3, his normal 4 rebounds because he's going to get on the glass, but a great game, great performance from Lou Dort, right? Shea, you're going to get your 24 from Shea, cool. But then Mathurin just doing the most. Mathurin with the high score in this game at 27 points off the bench. Like, again, this has just been an incredible run to see what's going on with the growth of Canadian basketball this season in the NBA, and to see that you have Canadians doing work on so many different levels, from the top tier MVP and Shea to great role players like Lou Dort and Nembhard and Mathurin, and just, the defensive side from Lou Dort and Nembhard to the get buckets from Mathurin. Like, this is just awesome to watch. Incredible to watch on so many levels. Pacers win 116-107. Just an awesome game. I'm just going to check to see if we got anything interesting from the post game so far, or any of the like any interesting stats or anything before we go. But that was just an amazing, amazing game. And yeah, the part about Mathurin too, 27 points in 22 minutes is just, that's highly efficient, right? Just what a game. I want to know too. Oh, here's another Mathurin stat for you. Bennedict Mathurin, Canada stand up. I know we were doing this pod and talking only about, or mostly about Shea and mostly about the matchup between Shea and Nemhard, but Mathurin has entered the conversation, Canadian fans. 27 points, playoff career high for him, 9 of 12 shooting for him, youngest player to score 25 plus points off the bench in the NBA Finals since the stats were recorded in 1970, 1971. Again, youngest player to score 25 plus points off the bench in the finals. Bennedict Mathurin. Canada just continuing to do work. This is a beautiful thing to see. I'm enjoying this so much. I'm waiting to see how the Canadian MVP is going to bounce back on Friday. And hopefully y'all can tune in and join us to discuss that as well. Because right now, Shea. Shea's calm and cool. They're not worried. They're not sweating it. They're going to bounce back. So I can't wait for Friday's game. Friday's game 4 is going to be lit. So let's enjoy this for what it is. We now have ourselves, I know it was 1-1 coming into Indy. So we already had ourselves a series, but I feel like this will start the narrative now and get some people to think, wait, can Indy actually do this? What's going on right now? And I think that's an amazing, amazing thing to see. So big shouts to the people tuning in. Appreciate you. Remember, you can catch the pod wherever you catch your podcasts, on Apple, on Spotify. Just search Canada Hoops Daily. And of course, same thing goes for YouTube. You can find all the YouTube content from Canada Hoops Daily. Just search Sheldon Alexander or Canada Hoops Daily. You'll find the content that way on the YouTube page for sure. Big shouts. If you want to message me online, you could follow me on Twitter at Shell Alexander or on Instagram at Sheldon Alexander. Follow the Canada Hoops Daily pages on both Twitter and on Instagram as well. Can Hoops Daily is on Twitter. Canada Hoops Daily is on Instagram. So big shouts to you, all of y'all, for tuning in. I don't know what's going on in the control room there. Control room error. Just means it's time to wrap up the show. But really appreciate y'all for tuning in. 116-107. Indiana Pacers win it. Big time game from Bennedict Mathurin with 27 points. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander guts out 24 points, but it's just not enough. He got 26 points from Jalen Williams, and Chet chipped in with 20. But the difference in this game was the bench of the Indiana Pacers, who just did the job and did it well. Big time performance from the Pacers. Their bench players did the job at home. Can the MVP bounce back in game 4? We shall see. But until then, as I always say, I used to pray for times like this to rhyme like this. This is Canada Hoops Daily Podcast, as always, unpolished and unapologetic. Until next time, see ya.